واليعقوب والأسباط وما أوتي موسى وعيسى وما أوتي النبيون من ربهم لا نفرق بين أحد منهم ونحن له مسلمون فإن آمنوا بمثل ما آمنتم به فقد اهتدوا وإن تولوا فإنما هم في شقاق فسيكفيكهم الله وهو السميع العليم صبغة الله ومن أحسن من الله صبغة
يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون يا أيها الذين آمنوا
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وأنفقوا في سبيل الله ولا تلقوا بأيديكم إلى التهلكة وأحسنوا إن الله يحب المحسنين من ذا الذي يقرض الله قرضا حسنا فيضاعفه له أضعافا كثيرة والله يقبض ويبسط وإليه ترجعون يا أيها الذين آمنوا أنفقوا مما رزقناكم من قبل أن يأتي يأتي يوم لا بيع فيه ولا خلة ولا شفاعة والكافرون هم الظالمون مثل الذين ينفقون أموالهم في سبيل الله كمثل حبة أنبتت 7 سنابل في كل سنبلة 100 حبة والله يضاعف لمن يشاء والله واسع عليم الذين ينفقون أموالهم في سبيل الله ثم لا يتبعون ما أنفقوا منا ولا أذى لهم أجرهم عند ربهم ولا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون ومثل الذين ينفقون أموالهم ابتغاء مرضات الله وتثبيتا من أنفسهم كمثل جنة بربوة أصابها وابل فآتت أكلها ضعفين فإن لم يصبها وابل فطل والله بما تعملون بصير الذين ينفقون أموالهم بالليل والنهار سرا وعلانية فلهم أجرهم عند ربهم ولا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون لن تنالوا البر حتى تنفقوا مما تحبون وما تنفقوا من شيء فإن الله به عليم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Inshallah, in today's dars, we will be discussing verses from Surah Al-Baqarah, Surah Ali Imran as well. The translation will follow, inshallah, as we discuss these verses from the Holy Quran. Sacrifice is a very huge thing. And in our day-to-day activities, we make sacrifices for a lot of things so that as individuals or as communities, we can progress steadily. It is for this reason that Allah the Almighty has told us as believers in the Holy Quran, where He said, those who are believers, وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ, that's anything that I, Allah the Almighty, has given them as their provision, they would have to make sacrifice from that. Spend something from that I have given them, or from what I have given them. And the main purpose for which we are on this earth is that we become true and sincere ibadallah, servants of Allah the Almighty. It is for this reason that the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, talking about those who Allah will bless because they've given out of which Allah the Almighty has provided them, the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said, "Ma min yawmin yusbihu al-ibadu fihi illa malakani yanzilan, fayaqulu ahaduhuma Allahumma a'ti munfiqan khalafan, wa yaqulu al-akhar Allahumma a'ti mumsikan talafan." That's every day 2 angels come down from heaven, and one of them say, "Oh Allah, bestow a good return on everyone or every person who spends in your cause." And the other angel says, "Oh Allah, destroy every miser, the one who does not spend." Our topic for today's dars is financial sacrifice. This is so because we live in a time where the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had foretold, and the Holy Quran, Allah the Almighty, has also told us that in this era, the era of the Imam of the age, financial sacrifices will be needed compared to sacrifices that are made with the lives. Hadrat Masih Maud alayhi salatu wasalam, when he was talking about Surah As-Saf, when he was talking about that chapter, he mentioned that it is in this chapter, verse 7, that a prophet will come after Isa alayhi salatu wasalam, and his name will be called Ahmad. He said, when you look at this verse, yes, number one, it applies to the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, who has been called Muhammad and also called Ahmad. So it is referred to the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. But he said, the second meaning to this verse is that this prophet called Ahmed also referred to the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam. This is because this Messiah, at his time or during his era, he will be called to Islam. And in the verse it says, وَهُوَ يُدْعَى إِلَى الْإِسْلَامِ, that he will be called to Islam by the so-called Muslims at that time, saying that you are not a true Muslim, so come to the real Islam. But what they will be presenting will be the false Islam, but his own Islam will be the best. So this verse signifies or points to the time of the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam. He said, in the same surah, Allah the Almighty says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, hal adullukum ala tijaratin tunjikum min adhabin alim, tu'minuna billahi wa rasulihi wa tujahiduna fi sabilillahi bimadha bi amwalikum wa anfusikum. ذَلِكُمْ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. That is to say that, O ye who believe, shall I point out to you a bargain that will save you from a painful punishment, that you believe in Allah and His Messenger, and strive in the cause of Allah with, number one, your wealth and your persons. This or that is better for you if you did, but no. The promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam says, these verses talking about his era, pointing to his era, and then the verse signifying or pointing that we should first of all sacrifice our wealth, meaning that at the time of the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam, what will be needed in that era is the sacrifice of one's wealth in the way of Allah the Almighty. This is also because in the era of the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam, the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam had already foretold that yada'ul harb, that there will not be any religious war. So that Messiah, there will not be any need for him to carry swords, to fight, or to defend Islam, or to defend religion, as the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam did. It is for this reason that the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam said in a couplet of his that ab chor do jihad ka hai dosto khayal, deen ke liye haram hai ab jang aur qital. That right now it is not the time for you to pick up the swords to defend Islam. It is not that time. And so now doing that thing is not seen as a thing of great honor in the sight of Allah the Almighty. The true jihad is with the pen. And in this era, the Holy Quran has said, وَإِذَا الصُّحُفُ نُشِرَتْ, that books will spread abroad. And because of these books being spread abroad, the promised Messiah at the time will also make use of these means to propagate the message of Islam. And so therefore, Allah the Almighty says that you should do jihad with your wealth. With that money that you have, this is the era that money will be needed to propagate the message of Islam. So we live in this time of the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam, where sacrifice with one's money, one's wealth, is given priority. Now, despite finding ourselves in this era, at times when it comes to the spending of monies, we ask ourselves a lot of questions. And we ask ourselves, why do we have to feed the poor? What is the need at all? What is the need to spend in the way of Allah the Almighty? Why should I spend in Allah's way? Will giving my money out make me a poor person? We ask ourselves. And so at times, you do your calculations and you're like, no, I'm not giving at all. Because this one there is for that and that and that. I don't want to spend anything at all. So you end up not spending anything. And then you hear verses. Allah said He requires loan from us. Why does Allah require a loan from you and I? What kind of money at all can I spend in the way of Allah the Almighty? Why is there different chandajat in Islam Ahmadiyyat? We have chandas in Islam Ahmadiyyat. Why is that so? And why is it not mentioned in the Holy Quran? These, inshallah, we will try as much as possible to cover in the commentary of the verses that I recited at the beginning. So we start with our first verse, which is from Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 196. It says, وَأَنْفِقُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ وَلَا تُلْقُوا بِأَيْدِيكُمْ إِلَى التَّهْلُكَةِ وَأَحْسِنُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. And spend for the cause of Allah, and cast not yourselves into ruin with your own hands, and do good. Surely Allah loves those who do good. The concentration is now on وَأَنْفِقُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ وَلَا تُلْقُوا بِأَيْدِيكُمْ إِلَى التَّهْلُكَةِ, and spend for the cause of Allah, and cast not yourselves into ruin with your own hand. Now, why will spending in the cause of Allah lead me into casting my hand, ruin myself? That is what we ask in this first discussion. Now, Allah the Almighty says that at the time of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when there were wars, and the Muslims had to sacrifice so that it will be able to facilitate them to do whatever that they wanted to do, to spend on whatever that they want to spend, in order for them to fight successfully. And for that matter, Allah the Almighty was warning the Muslims that if you do not spend, remember that these kuffar, the disbelievers, your opponents who are fighting against you, they are going to do everything to stop you. And they are going to spend as well. So if you do not spend, then remember that, then remember that you also be ruined if you do not spend at all. But if you spend in the way of Allah, give something so that we are able to buy the necessary things required for this war, then remember that Allah the Almighty is going to be with you, and then you will not be ruined. Hazrat Muslim Maud radiallahu anhu says that Hazrat Abu Ayyub Ansari radiallahu anhu said that this verse was revealed regarding the Muslims at the time. He says that at the time when they conquered Constantinople, when the Muslims were ruling that area, he said that it got to a point they said that now there is no need for us to spend in the way of Allah, because Islam is now revered. Islam has established itself. So why is there a need for us to spend? And then this verse was revealed, cautioning the Muslims that they should not think that at all. They should rather spend in the way of Allah the Almighty. Now the verse وَأَحْسِنُوا means that fulfill your duties in the best manner. Now how do you fulfill your duties in the best manner? It means that you would have to give, in the way of Allah the Almighty. You have to help the poor and then the needy. And then وَأَحْسِنُوا will also mean that it is not the regular means of giving, but you should also look for other ways or other means through which you can serve the poor and then serve the needy by giving them something. Allah the Almighty in these verses, or in this verse, has stressed on the importance of giving to the poor and the needy. And he says that, yes, we have zakat, which is an institution that is already in existence that you would have to pay. Now, apart from that zakat, which is a tax upon you, whether you are willing to do or not, you would have to pay because it is zakat. Wa'ahsinu will also mean that you would have to look for other ways to do good, and that other way will be willingly, not like the zakat, which is incumbent upon you. And once you do that willingly, then you are going to gain the blessings of Allah the Almighty, and then you are going to save yourself from ruin. Now, Hazrat Muslim Maud radiallahu anhu sets another example of the condition of the Tsar of Russia and other countries as well, and says that all these people were destroyed because they had amassed wealth for themselves. The government or the leaders at that time had taken everything. And so because of that, the general public got to a point and they realized that no, everything was in their hand. And so they cannot allow that. And so because it was in their hands, what the general public did was to go there and then loot whatever that they had with them. And this is what Allah the Almighty is cautioning us against. That's وَلَا تُلْقُوا بِأَيْدِيكُمْ إِلَى التَّهْلُكَةِ. That's do not put yourself into ruin. Meaning that if you are a rich person and you hoard all the money in the world, and in the area you are known to be the richest person, you don't give out, then it will get to a time that people will automatically come and then steal from you, whether you like it or not. He sets another example of a person in the Punjab who also was a money lender. Now what he did was that he used to give loan to the farmers to help them in their farming. Now he gave them loan to such a point that these farmers, whatever that they gain from their farming or from their produce, they would have to return everything to that money lender. Now, the authorities, or the big people, as we will call them, in the society decided that no, this is not right. So they called the farmers and asked them, will you be able to pay your debts? All of them said, no, we cannot pay our debts. He said, then the man is ready to collect his money from you. Then they all decided that because we cannot pay him, the best way to end the whole conversation is to kill that person. And so they did, and then they killed him. This is what Allah the Almighty is cautioning us about. That if you don't give, and you are known to be a rich person, or you are well-to-do in the society, you don't give to the poor, you don't help the poor, then you should remember that at some point in time, these people will come and then end your life. Because they know that the best thing to do is either kill you and take your money, or they will just come and steal from you. Wa-ahsinu will also mean that whilst you are giving in the way of Allah, there should not be any fear at all attached to it. You should not fear that I am giving 100 cedis. What will be left in my home? What will I do? Said that shouldn't be the case. Or if you follow your spending, your sadaqah with that thinking, yes, Allah the Almighty is saying that the poor person has benefited from it. You are giving him unwillingly. In your mind, you are not willing to do it at all. You are having 1,000 excuses in your mind. You are giving it out. Yes, that person you've given that amount to will benefit from it. But know that wa ahsinu here, that Allah the Almighty has mentioned, you are not fulfilling it. And so you will not get any reward from that sadaqah that you are doing. And he says, and the Quran says, Inna Allaha yuhibbul muhsinin. Now, Hazrat Muslim Maud radiallahu anhu says that you should understand that Allah the Almighty loves those who do good works. And you should understand that again, that Allah the Almighty is in charge, or He is the master of the hereafter. And so, if you do something without fear, but solely for the sake of Allah the Almighty, then, inshallah, you will be rewarded. Hazrat Muslim Maud radiallahu anhu said he would want to, apart from what we are discussing, he wants to draw attention to a very fine point from this verse, وَلَا تُلْقُوا بِأَيْدِيكُمْ إِلَى تَهْلُكَ, that do not put yourselves in ruin. He said that Allah the Almighty, through this verse, has established a very fine principle for all of us, saying that whatever you are doing as an individual, you should understand that that thing that you are doing should not cause your ruin. Whether it is your own activities that you are doing at home, even the food that you are preparing, a lot of things that might happen in your life, everything that you are doing as an individual, that thing should not lead to your ruin. But again, he said, apart from that, there is one other fine point to it, and that is that whatever you are doing as an individual, the end results should not be something that will lead you to ruin. And so you might think that giving 20 cedis or 30 cedis out will hurt you. But you should understand that the end result is, Inna Allaha yuhibbul muhsinin. Allah loves those who do good works, who do good deeds. And so at the end of it all, you are going to get Allah the Almighty in return. But if what you are doing, the end result is very bad, then you are not going to gain anything from Allah the Almighty, and it's not going to benefit you in any way. The next verse is from Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 246. It says, مَنْ ذَا الَّذِي يُقْرِضُ اللَّهَ قَرْضًا حَسَنًا فَيُضَاعِفَهُ لَهُ أَضْعَافًا كَثِيرًا وَاللَّهُ يَقْبِضُ وَيَبْسُطُ وَإِلَيْهِ تُرْجَعُونَ. We start with, مَنْ ذَا الَّذِي يُقْرِضُ اللَّهَ قَرْضًا حَسَنًا فَيُضَاعِفَهُ لَهُ أَضْعَافًا كَثِيرًا. Who is it that will lend Allah a goodly loan that he may multiply it for him manifold. Al-Qard, what we translate to mean loan. Al-Qardu al-Qat'u wa huwa ma aslafahu min ihsanin aw min asa'atin. That if we say Al-Qard, it means whatever you send forth for yourself, whether it being good or bad or evil. He said that a shair, a poet has written that كل امرئ سوف يجزى قرضه حسنا أو سيئا مدينا مثل ما دان. That is to say that everyone will get the reward of whatever they do, whether it is good or bad. So what you send forth for yourself in the future is what is referred to al-qard, according to Hazrat Muslim Ma'ud radiallahu anhu, and from Lisanul Arab and other dictionaries as well. Now, he says that acting upon the words of Allah the Almighty will make you someone who receives abundant wealth from Allah the Almighty, or abundant reward from Allah the Almighty. And al-qard will also mean to cut a portion of something. Now, what you are cutting out of that wealth that you have, it is that thing, that small thing that will not affect you in any way. It is that thing that is going to get you the blessings of Allah the Almighty. Al-Da'afun means that increasing or doubling something, or even doubling something or giving something in manifold, in millions. So that is what Allah the Almighty has given as the meaning to Ad'af, as it is contained in the verse I just quoted. Why Allah the Almighty has said, Man dhal ladhi, and in this way it is used as a question that who is that will lend Allah a goodly loan and that he will multiply it for him manifold. He said Allah the Almighty has used it as a question, but it is actually to entice us to do what is good. Hazrat Muslim Ma'ud radiallahu anhu says that when spending in the way of Allah, we should keep three things in mind. That is, number one, you spend with happiness and joy, not with any kind of hatred in your heart or anything at all that will deprive you of the blessings of Allah the Almighty, of the blessings of that sadaqah that you are doing. And he says, do not follow your sacrifice with taunts. And the third one is spend out of which is best. That you spend what Allah the Almighty, or in the face, or in your own understanding, is the best that you can give. That is why Allah the Almighty has stated in Surah At-Tawbah that وَلَا يُنْفِقُونَ إِلَّا وَهُمْ كَارِهُونَ. That those who are the munafiq, the hypocrites, one of their signs is that whenever that they are giving, there is some kind of hatred in their hearts. They dislike what they are doing, but they just do it. So, as a Muslim already, Allah who is saying that if you want to win the blessings of Allah the Almighty, if you want to establish the true essence of giving out as sadaqah, then you should remember that you shouldn't be a hypocrite, a munafiq, someone who gives, but giving inward or within him, he finds it very, something that is very displeasing to him. He said that shouldn't be the case. And number two, الَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ أَمْوَالَهُمْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ ثُمَّ لَا يُتْبِعُونَ مَا أَنْفَقُوا مَنًّا وَلَا أَذًى. He says that you shouldn't also spend, and after spending you start, I've given you 20 cedis, 30 cedis. Won't you do this for me? I gave you this, 500 cedis. Won't you do this for me? You should not follow it with that to always remind the person of the good that you've done to the person. Or even with the slightest pain in your heart, that I did something for this man and he's not doing what I would want him to do for me. He said, following your sadaqah with such thinking, with such thoughts, actually deprives you of winning the blessings of Allah the Almighty. And he says, لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. And again, if you want your sadaqah to be the truest form of sadaqah, then whatever that you are giving out should be the best, not what you have rejected. So he said we should keep that in mind, and that will really help us to move forward. So Allah the Almighty says, "Man dhal ladhi yuqridu Allah qardan hasana," that who will give Allah the Almighty a goodly loan. He says, so this will mean that you give a portion of whatever that you have. And that portion, because you are giving it, and your intention is very pure, then whatever you are sending forth for yourself, Allah is going to bless it for you. And because your intentions were pure, Allah the Almighty is going to give you a very good reward. And He's not going to give you only twice or thrice, because in the meaning of ad'afan, it has multiples of millions that you can think of. So the reward that you are going to get from Allah the Almighty is not as if you gave Him one and He's giving you back two. No, He is going to give you even more than what you think of. The different meaning of spending according to the verse, according to the Muslim radiallahu anhu, he says that giving loan to Allah the Almighty here signifies that you are giving a loan to His servants. You are giving a loan to mankind, or you are rendering a help that Allah the Almighty refers to as a loan, because at the end of it all, He's going to reward you. Now, why is Allah the Almighty using Himself here? That man dhal ladhi yuqridu Allah qardan hasana, that who will give Allah a goodly loan. Why is He using Himself? He says that because in the writings of Allah the Almighty and in the writings of a hadith, Allah the Almighty at times put Himself in the situation or the condition of a servant. And He narrates an hadith from Sahih Muslim, where Allah the Almighty said on the day of judgment, He will ask His servants that I was sick, you did not visit me. I was hungry, you did not feed me. I was thirsty, you did not give me water to drink. And then man will say, oh Allah, you are the Lord of all the worlds. How is it possible that a supreme being like you were sick, you fell sick, you were thirsty, you were hungry? How is it possible? He will say that, don't you remember that this servant of mine came to you and he was hungry, he requested for food, you did not give him. He was thirsty, and then you did not give him water to drink. So Allah the Almighty using Himself here is something that is proved, or that something that is proven. So here He means to say that you have to give, or you have to spend on the servants of Allah the Almighty, on mankind, so that they also progress in life. He says that Christians raise allegation on this hadith, but they should remember that this hadith is also mentioned in Matthew chapter 25, verse 34 to 40, about Allah the Almighty, or God saying that He was thirsty and then He was hungry. He said this is found in their book as well. In the same verse, or the preceding verse, talks about وَقَاتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. That's the Muslims, or the Muslims should fight in the way of Allah the Almighty. So Allah the Almighty, through this verse, is telling them that after the wars, you are going to face challenges. There is going to be poverty. People will be in need of a lot of things. And so you would have to spend on these people so that their condition also becomes better. He said we should never fear in giving, because Allah the Almighty has already promised us that He's going to multiply it for us. And He cites the example of Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. He said Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam was willing to sacrifice his only son at that time for the sake of Allah the Almighty. And what happened at the end of it all? Allah the Almighty gave him children and a very good progeny. So He said we shouldn't fear at all. And He cites the example of Hazrat Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam. That Hazrat Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam also resided in a barren land where there was no water, nothing. He resided there for the sake of Allah the Almighty. And what did he get at the end of it all? What he got was that Allah the Almighty blessed him with the best of all the prophets, Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So you should never think that whatever you are spending in the way of Allah will go to waste. That will never happen. Then Wallahu yaqubidu wa yabsut. And Allah receives and enlarges. Allah, through this phrase, is also sending a word of caution to all of us. That receiving something or withholding something and also enlarging something is in the hands of Allah the Almighty. So if you think that today you are rich and you do not want to give, then remember that conditions change. Allah the Almighty is capable of changing conditions. So know that the wealth that you are having today might not be yours tomorrow. And so you should spend on those who are poor and needy in society, and that is best for you. Again, Hadrat Muslim Maud radiallahu anhu says that Allah the Almighty talks about Yaqbid and Yabsut. So what are the two other meanings of this verse? He says that once you act upon the commandments of Allah the Almighty, once you follow the rules that He has set down with regards to how you should spend in His way, then be rest assured that He is going to enlarge whatever that He has given you. He is not going to take anything away from you. He is going to rather enlarge it for you. But if you are disobedient to Allah the Almighty, then you should remember that Allah the Almighty is going to do qabd. He is going to withhold whatever that He has granted you. He is going to take it back. And as we've already, Allah the Almighty has already cautioned, that conditions are not permanent. And so you should not put yourself in that state where if you don't spend now, your condition might change and those people will also be in your position. The verse continues to say, وَإِلَيْهِ تُرْجَعُونَ. Now the question is, what do I get from all of this? And Allah the Almighty says that, وَإِلَيْهِ تُرْجَعُونَ. That it is He, Allah the Almighty, that you are going to return to. So whatever you are building in this world, with your wealth, with your money, you should understand that your real abode, where you will be residing eternally, is going to be with Allah the Almighty, which is in the hereafter. So you should spend now so that you are able to be counted among those who spent for the future, those who spent and Allah the Almighty enlarged it for them and then also gave them an everlasting abode in the hereafter. So he says that do not hoard monies so that you ruin yourself. You should try as much as possible to always give out, and that is very, very important. يا أيها الذين آمنوا أنفقوا مما رزقناكم من قبل أن يأتي يوم لا بيع فيه ولا خلة ولا شفاعة والكافرون هم الظالمون. O ye who believe, spend out of what we have bestowed on you before the day comes wherein there shall be no buying and selling, nor friendship, nor intercession, and it is those who disbelieve that do wrong to themselves. Now, in this verse, as a Muslim Maud radiallahu anhu says that Allah the Almighty has told us, yes, we will have to pay zakat, and zakat is once in a year. But when you read this verse carefully, Allah the Almighty says that أَنْفِقُوا مِمَّا رَزَقْنَاكُمْ, that you would have to spend out of which Allah the Almighty has given you as a provision. So it is not for you to wait till the last day or till the end of year before you give something. No. It means that you should spend in the way of Allah each and every single day. And that is why He has also said that is why the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam started what we call the chanda system. So that we don't hoard the money or we don't keep the money to wait at the end of the year and then we give one sadaqah, we give zakat and say that is all. He said that is not the sign of a believer. A believer is the one who does what? Anfiqu mimma razaqnakum. They always spend in the way of Allah the Almighty. Now, what is chanda? This is something that we get a lot of questions, especially from our non-Ahmadi Muslims, that the Jamaat has introduced something that is very, very new. They say it is a bid'ah, an innovation that was not found at the time of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And so based on this as well, we should be considered outside the pale of Islam. Now, what is chanda? Chanda is a word that is borrowed from Farsi, the Persian language. And because the promised Messiah ﷺ made his advent in a place where, in Asia, where he is surrounded by these people, and then the language that he also spoke was Urdu, Farsi, and Arabic. And these words were borrowed from each other, like the languages, like here we have Fanti, Asante, and all of that. We borrow the words from each other and we use them. So this chanda is a borrowed word from Farsi and it is used in Urdu. And chanda simply means, some kind of sacrifice or charity, as you may call it. You may call it some kind of charity that you give out. Now, chanda is not any new thing. It's just the name that confuses a lot of people. So chanda simply means financial sacrifice and nothing more. So if calling it chanda will be a problem for you, just call it financial sacrifice in your own understanding. But fortunately for us, the promised Messiah ﷺ came from a place that was prophesied by the Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. And that is where he borrowed that word from and then used it to signify the amount or the amount that we give out in the way of Allah the Almighty, the sadaqah that we do. And surprisingly, or interestingly, those people who hail from that region, that side of that part of the world, they also use the same thing. And when you go to the mosque of non-Ahmadis outside, they have their own chanda box there, where people give donations, because they understand that chanda simply means to give in the way of Allah the Almighty, to sacrifice something, and it's not anything new. The promised Messiah ﷺ has said that doomed are the people who spend hundreds for show and display. But when it comes to spending in the way of Allah, they find all sorts of excuses. It is shameful indeed that a person should enter this Jamaat and not leave behind his miserliness and meanness. Allah has so ordained that the party of his men always needs financial assistance in the beginning. Even our Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ received chanda from his disciples, of whom Hazrat Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu was foremost. So come forward to assist with manly courage and without hesitation. Those who help us today will witness Allah's help. So the Prophet ﷺ has used the same word for the Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, that the Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ also took chanda, meaning that he also took financial sacrifices. And he cited the example of Hazrat Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, who brought everything from his house. Whatever wealth that he had with him, he brought so that that wealth could be sacrificed in the way of Allah the Almighty. Now, on the same chanda, our present Khalifa, Hazrat Khalifatul Masih al-Khamis, ayyadahullahu ta'ala bin Nasr al-Aziz, has said that financial sacrifices or chanda is needed for a lot of things, especially in the Jamaat. And you can only put MTA there. The expenses of MTA, whatever that is going into MTA, if this Jamaat were not to be from Allah the Almighty, would have collapsed the Jamaat. But that financial sacrifice is important, and it is because we do it sincerely. That is why Allah the Almighty multiplies it in manifolds. That it is able to cater for our needs and get MTA running 24/7. And you can ask any television, any TV station at all, that how would they run it? For instance, MTA is not doing any adverts at all. And once you are not running an advert or running adverts as a TV station, then automatically your TV station is going to collapse. But MTA is not running any adverts. But rather, people go there and then do programs for them. They send their teams to go for programs all over the world. And they are spending money on all those things. So how is the Jamaat supposed to run if we do not sacrifice in the way of Allah the Almighty? He said we should spend because we should spend because on that day there will not be any bay'un, la bay'un fihi. there shall be no buying and selling on that day. He says, Inna Allah ashtara min al-mu'minina anfusahum wa amwalahum bi anna lahumul jannah. That's Allah the Almighty has purchased from the believers their selves or their souls and then their wealth, because Allah the Almighty has put Jannah there, heaven there for them. So the best trade that we can do should be done now. And that is to say that we are going to spend whatever that we have in order to buy our heaven. And that is why in Ghana here we have our singers saying that Ishtaru Jannati Bimali. They use that to sing song to tell us that we will need to spend in the way of Allah the Almighty. And out of that spending, we are buying our heaven with that spending that we are doing. Allah the Almighty says, yes, there's not going to be any bargain. You should also remember that on that day, wala khullatun, that there is not going to be any friendship. Because on that day, everyone, or each and everyone, will be busy in their own thinking. They cannot understand or they cannot perceive even those around them, because that day is going to be that hot for them. And so Allah the Almighty is cautioning us that if you want to make any true friend, you should make it now. And the one and only true friend is Allah the Almighty. If you don't make that friend now by spending in His way, then don't think of any other friend on the day of judgment, because there's no one at all who is going to help you. Then it continues to say, wala shafa'a. And there's not going to be any intercessor. No one is going to intercede for you on the day of judgment, except the one that Allah the Almighty has granted permission to intercede for you. That is the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And don't think that also if you go on your own ways, you do your own things, the Holy Prophet is going to do shafa'at for you, going to intercede for you. No. In the meaning of shafa'at, you would have to merge with the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And merging with him means that you have that abilities, that beauties of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam within you. And that way is that the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was ajwadun nas, was the best of mankind when it came to giving charity and doing good works. So if we want true friendship, true intercession, and that person whom Allah the Almighty will give that chance is the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then we would have to give charity so that Allah the Almighty will grant us that intercession from the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 262. مثل الذين ينفقون أموالهم في سبيل الله كمثل حبة أنبتت 7 سنابل في كل سنبلة 100 حبة والله يضاعف لمن يشاء والله واسع عليم. The similitude of those who spend their wealth for the cause of Allah is like the similitude of a grain of corn, which grows 7 ears, and in each ear 100 grains. And Allah multiplies its feather for whomsoever He pleases. And Allah is bountiful, all-knowing. Hazrat Muslim Maud radiallahu anhu says that Allah the Almighty has already promised that if you give the slightest thing in the way of Allah, let's say a peswa in the way of Allah, then you should understand that Allah the Almighty has already promised you that He is going to multiply it for you. And the multiplication is going to be 700 times. So we should not think for a moment that whatever little thing that we are doing in the way of Allah the Almighty, sincerely, will go to waste. It will never go to waste. Because Allah the Almighty has already promised that He is going to multiply it for you. Hazrat Muslim Maud radiallahu anhu cites the example of the Khulafa of Islam. He says, look at Hazrat Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. during the war of Tabuk, when the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam called that he needed financial sacrifices, he needed sacrifices to be made. Hazrat Umar radiallahu anhu went and brought half of his wealth and said, today I have beat Hazrat Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu because I've brought half of whatever that I'm having. He was there when Hazrat Abu Bakr came with everything. The Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam asked him, "Oh Abu Bakr, what have you left home?" He said, "I've left Allah and His Messenger at home." It means I've brought everything. I'm spending everything in the way of Allah the Almighty. Hazrat Umar said, then I can never compete with this man. But what was that blessing that they got? Hazrat Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu became Amirul Mu'mineen. He became the leader of the believers. Allah the Almighty made him a Khalifa. So his wealth that he gave out sincerely, the sacrifices that he made sincerely, Allah the Almighty did not make it go to waste. He granted him the loftiest station that an individual can think of. And that is the Caliphate. And he made him a Khalifa. He cited the example of Hazrat Umar radiallahu anhu. He said Hazrat Umar radiallahu anhu was also made a Khalifa, the second successor of Islam. Hazrat Usman, Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu. These people were elevated to a status that they could not fathom at that time. But because of their sacrifices, because they gave everything out in the way of Allah the Almighty, Allah the Almighty blessed them immensely. And he says, the Sahaba of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, they were persecuted, they sacrificed, they left their home Makkah. Allah the Almighty blessed them with Medina al-Munawwara. They left their brothers. Allah the Almighty blessed them with the Ansar, the best of brothers that they could think of, the best of siblings that they could think of. They left their parents, and Allah the Almighty blessed them with the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So the sacrifices that they made, they never went to waste. Wallahu wasi'un alim. And Allah is bountiful, all-knowing. The bounty of Allah cannot be measured. And it is only when sadaqah or alms is given in sincerity that Allah the Almighty grants such a person that reward that Allah the Almighty has Himself promised. Hazrat Khalifatul Masih al-Rabi' rahimahullah mentions an incident that he said that once the additional Wakilul Mal in the UK at that time came to him and said, Huzur, we are approving a lot of things for projects and things to be done in Africa. We are approving them too much. I'm afraid that it will get to a time that this Jamaat will lack, and then we will not get anything. We will not get money from anywhere to spend on whatever we want to use our money for. Huzur said, you shouldn't worry. This Jamaat belongs to Allah the Almighty. Yes, you said I should do it. I should check the mal. I should check whatever amount that the Jamaat is having. I will look at that. That is my duty to do. But so far as spending in the way of Allah is concerned, that one, nothing can be done about it. We would have to do it. And Allah the Almighty will provide for us. He said when he told additional Wakilul Mal that at that time, he smiled and then he was happy that he has received the good news from Hazrat Khalifatul Masih. Sorry. Yeah. It's okay. So he said, he smiled, and then he was very happy that he has received the good news from Hazrat Khalifatul Masih that Allah the Almighty will provide. Hazrat Khalifatul Masih al-Rabi says that after a few days, someone came to Hazrat Khalifatul Masih and said, Allah the Almighty has given me a very nice business with huge income. And so I decided that I cannot spend this money alone. And so I'm giving 50,000 pounds as sadaqah to the Jamaat. You should use it wherever you want to use it. As the Khalifatul Masih al-Rabi said, this is how Allah the Almighty blesses us. That once something is done in His way and is done with sincerity, then Allah the Almighty is going to reward us in manifold. Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 263. الذين ينفقون أموالهم في سبيل الله ثم لا يتبعون ما أنفقوا منا ولا أذى لهم أجرهم عند ربهم ولا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. They who spend their wealth for the cause of Allah, then follow not up what they have spent with taunt or injury. For them is their reward with their Lord, and they shall have no fear, nor shall they grieve. Al-Baqarah 263. Al-Mannu, the meaning is that manna ala ma sana'a, meaning that a'taytuka kadha wa fa'altu ma'aka kadha. That's al-man. Taunting means that I gave you this, I did this for you. After you've spent your money on something or someone, then you follow the person with what you have done. That is the meaning of al-man according to Lisan al-Arab. And then other means that something that will cause pain to you. You have some pain within you after doing what you've done. So it says, لا يتبعون ما أنفقوا منا ولا أذى. That those who spend in the way of Allah the Almighty, they do not follow their sadaqah with taunt or injury or with pain. As a Muslim, Ma'ud radiallahu anhu said that this shouldn't be our condition. That whenever we do something good, we taunt people with it. And we are all aware of, at times, the things that goes around us. That you follow a person with that good you've done him, that the person even gets helpless. That's why did we even do this in the first place? We have people like that within us. So Allah the Almighty is cautioning us that we should not do that. And as a Muslim Maud says that this is what the Arabs at that time also do when it came to their Islam. He says, يَمُنُّونَ عَلَيْكَ أَنْ أَسْلَمُوا. That they used to tell the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, we've done a very good deed, by accepting Islam. So we are the ones who have accepted Islam. They used to taunt the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam with that. He says, tell them, لَا تَمُنُّ عَلَيَّ إِسْلَامَكُمْ. Don't taunt your Islam, don't taunt your Islam with me. Don't try to always remind me that you've become Muslims and then you are taunting me with that. No. بَلِ اللَّهُ يَمُنُّ عَلَيْكُمْ أَنْ هَدَاكُمْ لِلْإِيمَانِ. But it is Allah the Almighty who should rather be doing that to you, that He has guided you on the right path. And He's saying that this applies to those who do this, who follow people with the little thing that they've done for them. That you should not do al-man on us. You should not taunt us with what you have done. But rather, you should be very grateful to Allah the Almighty that He has given you that opportunity, that chance to sacrifice in His way, to give or to do something good in your life. Hadrat Masih Maud alayhi salatu wasalam says, ये मत ख्याल करो कि तुम कोई हिस्सा माल का दे कर या किसी और रंग से कोई खिदमत बजा ला कर खुदा ताला और उसके फरिश्तादा पर कुछ एहसान करते हो, बल्कि ये उसका एहसान है कि तुम्हें इस खिदमत के लिए बुलाता है. बस ऐसा ना हो कि तुम दिल में तकब्बुर करो और ये ख्याल करो कि हम खिदमत माली या किसी किस्म की खिदमत करते हैं. मैं बार बार तुम्हें कहता हूँ कि खुदा तुम्हारी खिदमतों का जरा मोहताज नहीं. हाँ, तुम पर ये उसका फजल है कि तुमको खिदमत का मौका देता है. That you should remember, that you should never think for a second that whatever you are doing for this community, in whatever capacity that you are serving the Jamaat, don't think that that position or what you are doing to help an individual, you would taunt the person with it or taunt Allah with it, that you are doing something great for the Jamaat. And at times people will also say, we'll do the takabbur, will pride themselves with it, that they are doing something very huge for the Jamaat. They are doing something huge for that person. He said, you should never think that way. And do not entertain that thought of takabbur, of pride, of arrogance within you. He said that you are not doing anything to the Jamaat, but rather you should be grateful to Allah the Almighty, that Allah the Almighty has given you that opportunity to serve Him. He continues to say, Agar tum is qadar khidmat bajalao, कि अपनी गैर मंकूला जायदादों को उस राह में बेच दो, फिर भी अदब से दूर होगा कि तुम ख्याल करो कि हमने कोई खिदमत की है. ये तमाम ख्यालात अदब से दूर हैं और जिस कदर बेअदब जल्द तर हलाक हो जाता है, ऐसा जल्द कोई हलाक नहीं होता. He says that even if you were supposed to sell whatever property that you have and then give that in the way of Allah the Almighty, use that one as sadaqah, that even for that you do not have to have the slightest thinking that you've done something very great, to entertain anything or any pride within you that you've done something great. You should stay away from that, because such pride or such thinking leads to ruin. Now, the other is, as a Muslim, I would explain it to also mean that you help, someone, and this thing happens, that you help someone maybe buy something, or you help someone in his school, then you try to make that person your servant, your gulam. And we know that these things happen, that once you help someone for the first time, the second time, then you start entertaining such thoughts in your mind, that this person now should work for me, this person should do whatever I ask him to do. We said we should not do that. Allah the Almighty says that the main thing, or the true essence of sacrifice, is that you should not follow it with pain, something that will cause pain to someone. And he says, "La khawfun alayhim wa la hum yahzanun." That you should know that if you do something for the soul, for Allah the Almighty, then no worries or fear shall come to you. Al-Baqarah 266. وَمَثَلُ الَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ أَمْوَالَهُمْ ابْتِغَاءَ مَرْضَاتِ اللَّهِ وَتَثْبِيتًا مِنْ أَنفُسِهِمْ كَمَثَلِ جَنَّةٍ بِرَبْوَةٍ أَصَابَهَا وَابِلٌ فَآتَتْ أُكُلَهَا ضِعْفَيْنِ فَإِنْ لَمْ يُصِبْهَا وَابِلٌ فَطَلْ وَاللَّهُ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ بَصِيرٌ. And the case of those who spend their wealth to seek the pleasure of Allah and to strengthen their souls is like the case of a garden on elevated ground. Heavy rains falls on it so that it brings forth its fruits twofold. And if heavy rain does not fall on it, then light rain suffices. And Allah sees what you do. Now, Hazrat Muslim Maud anhu says that there are two types of people. There are two types of people who give sadaqah. Number one is those who are rich and then they give, and then the second category are those who are poor and they also give. He says that those who are rich and then they give, Allah the Almighty has compared them to what he called wabilun, that is heavy rain. He has compared them to that. And those who are poor and they also give, they've been compared to what we call fatollun. Fatollun. That is their comparison. So Allah the Almighty is saying that you should not worry that you don't have much, but you should also understand that even the slightest amount that you have, giving out of that slightest amount or that little amount that you have, that is also very good, and then you get reward from Allah the Almighty. What Allah the Almighty wants from us is our sincerity. And those who are poor, it is whom that Allah the Almighty have said, La yajiduna illa juhdahum. They do not find anything at all except what they have, they've earned with their hard works. So that Allah the Almighty really needs from all of us. And Allah has a Muslim who says that we had these two types of people at the time of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Wallahu bima ta'maluna basir. And you should know that Allah sees what you do. And so whether you are rich or poor, Allah the Almighty knows you. He knows who you are. He knows whether you can spend or you cannot spend. He knows whether spending 20 cedis is the right amount or spending 500 cedis is the right amount. Allah the Almighty knows. So once the reason is good. Once you are sincere, then you should understand that Allah the Almighty is well aware of it, and then He will reward you, inshallah. Hazrat Muslim radiallahu anhu continues to say that Allah has drawn our attention to three things in this verse. ابتغاء مرضات الله وتثبيتا من أنفسهم, to seek the pleasure of Allah and to strengthen their souls or to strengthen their societies. He said that's number one. If a nation has its people fallen, like the nation becomes very, very weak, because fallen in the sense that they are poor people, and so they are weak. And so because they are weak, they become a burden to the society, and such a society collapses. And Huzur says that the reason why the West or the Europeans are progressing is because they understand the importance of giving, and so they pay a lot of taxes so that they are able to take care of their own people. And then that's the poor people in the society do not become a burden on the society. Rather, they become people who will bring something, will make the nation very strong. And so when you are helping the poor people, don't think you are helping one person or two people, but you should understand that you are helping a whole community, and that is what will keep you going. Now, again, this verse will also mean that once you give in the way of Allah the Almighty, then Allah the Almighty is going to bless you and He's going to strengthen you. The third thing is that Allah the Almighty is going to give you that spiritual strength that you desire. And He says that, as a Muslim already, Allah who says that is why He tells the Jamaat that those who go to collect chanda from people and they say, this person is weak, this person has this weakness in him, that weakness in him, he's not praying, he's not doing this. He said, no problem, you should go to them and then take the chanda from them. And once you do that, Allah the Almighty is saying that, وَتَثْبِيتًا مِنْ أَنفُسِهِمْ, that maybe through that act of him giving something out, paying that chanda, Allah the Almighty will strengthen his faith. And then that will help him to progress steadily, and then he will get to where he's supposed to get. And that will also, that person giving out, it will also give him that courage to go forward to do many good deeds. Al-Baqarah 275. الذين ينفقون أموالهم بالليل والنهار سرا وعلانية فلهم أجرهم عند ربهم ولا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. Those who spend their wealth by night and day, secretly and openly, have their reward with their Lord. On them shall come no fear, nor shall they grieve. Hazrat Muslih Ma'ud radiallahu anhu has explained the meanings of Billayli wa Nahari Sirwan wa Alaniya. He says that Layl is mentioned first, that is darkness or night is mentioned first, and then after which Nahar comes. And then it continues to say Sirran in secrecy, and then Alaniya, then in open or openly. He says that Allah the Almighty wishes that a believer spends in secrecy. And the main reason why he's giving out or he's spending in secrecy is because that the one who is receiving should not know who he is. So that whenever he meets him, he doesn't feel ashamed that I gave this person this amount of money. So they give in secret so that they are not known. He said that is the sign of a believer. And the other part is that they give it outwardly or openly during the day so that they see, or so that people will see that they are giving out. And when people see, the main motive is that they will also develop that habit of giving or helping the poor people. And that is the main reason why Allah the Almighty has said that they should give bilayli wa nahar, and then sirran wa alaniya, in secrecy, openly, night, and then day. This is very, very important. He says that in reality, in light of the Sharia, Islam has given two types of sadaqat. That is, the number one is the zakat that we all know. And he said that the zakat is received by the government, or it is a must that you pay. And so that one, you don't have any choice but to make such payment. He says Allah the Almighty is given two types, and the other type is the one that you give out willingly. And this will test the sincerity of a believer. Now, how will it test the sincerity of a believer? Number one, sadaqah is compulsory, so he's going to do it anyways. But the other part is the other sadaqahs that you do, other alms that you do, helping the poor, giving money to the needy and all of that. That one, it takes a sincere person to give out. And so he says that this verse also sends that subtle message to us that these two types should be done, and then the other part or the other side of the other sadaqah that should be given, that will test the sincerity of the believer. And once you give out in the name of Allah the Almighty, then you know that you are also helping the poor fiber in the society for them to also develop. Hazrat Muslim Maud radiallahu anhu says that at times when you also give and people know that you give, it establishes some kind of love and affection between two parties. That is, if it is done sincerely or in sincerity, then you know that, oh, this person helped me. So you develop some kind of love for that person. So he said, in that way, it is also, there is no problem with that at all. As Muslim Maud radiallahu anhu says that La khawfun alayhim wa la hum yahzanun, that you should know that once you plant a seed, once you put a seed on the ground, then you should be rest assured that you are going to get something out of it. You are going to harvest something. But he said it is not like the worldly one, where what you have grown or what you've sown in the soil, you can have fire coming to destroy everything. He says that once it is with Allah the Almighty, once that seed that you've sown is with Allah the Almighty, then be rest assured that it's going to be protected. And it's not going to be protected, but it is also going to be multiplied in manifolds. You are going to reap a lot of blessings from it. But it demands that, first of all, you sow that seed. You sow that seed. That is, you have to give something out before Allah the Almighty blesses that thing for you. Ali Imran, verse 93. لن تنالوا البر حتى تنفقوا مما تحبون وما تنفقوا من شيء فإن الله به عليم. Never shall you attain to righteousness unless you spend out of which you love, and whatever you spend, Allah surely knows it well. Al-Bir, righteousness, can also mean goodness of the goodness of the highest order, or good moral qualities, as well as the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has also called it husnul khulq. That is the excellent moral, and that can also refer to as true belief. He said when this verse was revealed, an example was established in front of us when a companion of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Hazrat Abu Talha radiallahu anhu, came to the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said that I want to attain righteousness, and so I have a garden full of dates. Ya Rasulullah, it is something that is very, very dear to me. It is dearer to me than anything. And so since Allah the Almighty demands that from us, then I give this in the way of Allah the Almighty. Hadrat Masih Maud alayhi salatu wasalam, explaining this verse, says that when you compare the condition of the people at that time of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you look at our own condition now, it is something that you would have to weep on. You have to weep about our conditions. He said because the people at the time of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had to sacrifice their lives at the time. He said we should remember that those people had families, they had children, but they never cared about these things. They never cared about these people in their lives. And they went to war in defense of Islam. He said they made these sacrifices at that time and they did not turn back at all. But he said we are fortunate in that era, that in this era, Allah the Almighty does not require us to do that, but rather He requires of us to spend money in the way of Allah. And yet we see that people do not want to spend in His way. The meaning of lan tanalul birra hatta tunfiqu mimma tuhibbun, number one, has the meaning of spending something that is very precious in the way of Allah. You cannot spend something that you yourself do not like. And you are like, okay, this one is not that good. It's not very nice, and so I don't like it. Maybe you can give it to this poor person. He said, once you do that, you should understand that it does not fall under what you love. And so you cannot get what we call righteousness. It is not righteousness to do that kind of giving. And he is asking whether the companions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam reached this stage by merely saying that they are the companions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam without any effort. He said no. But they did something, and the example of Hazrat Abu Talha is in front of us. He says that if we also want to attain the same station, the same status, then we would have to spend in the way of Allah the Almighty. And what do we have to spend? لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. That you would have to spend what you love most in the way of Allah the Almighty. He says that Allah the Almighty has stated that Iman, spending in the way of Allah, is also a part of faith. And so without spending in the way of Allah, then there is Iman, or faith is not complete. And Hazrat Muslim Maud says that it is also important that we draw our attention. We turn towards giving chanda and other sacrifices for the betterment of mankind. He says, you cannot say something is albir when, for instance, let's say you have a hen, or what do you call it, an animal that is dying. And you say, because this animal is dying, I don't want it to die. Let me go and give it to that so and so, that friend. He should slaughter it, and that is my sadaqah. That is what I'm doing. He said, you cannot call that albir. That is not righteousness. If you want to gain that blessings that Allah the Almighty has promised in these verses about infaq, about giving, then this is not righteousness at all. Because you are giving out what is almost gone, what is almost useless to someone. He said that cannot be called albir. You want to give something to someone, and then you wait when the expiry date is left with 1 month or 2 days for the thing to expire. Then you say, this is my sadaqah. He says that is not sadaqah at all. That is not albir. This is not what Allah the Almighty is saying. He said that is not the case. It will be the case when that thing is very dear to you. When it has, for example, like 2-3 years to expire, and you know that it is valuable, and you want to really do sadaqah, then you spend out of that one. He said that one is called righteousness. The promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam mentioned the example of Hazrat Maulana Abdul Hakim Nuruddin Sahib. And he says that, Khalifatul Masih al-Awwal, radiyallahu anhu, he says that he also demonstrated the highest form of sacrifice that he could imagine, the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. And he said that this should be the case. This should be the state of each and every believer, that you look for ways and means to give in the way of Allah the Almighty. And he says that what is the status or what is the condition of a Muslim? And he mentions in his couplet and says, Khuda se wohi log karte hain pyar, jo sab kuch hi karte hain us pe nisar. Usi fikr mein rehte hain roz o shab, ke razi ho dil wo dildar hota hai kab. Usse de chuke mal o jaan bar bar, abhi khawf dil mein ki hain nabikar. Now, what the Prophet ﷺ is saying that for those who are sincere believers, they are always wondering, they are always thinking that, Allah, what can I sacrifice in your way? What should be sacrificed in your way so that I could get that love? That is your love, Ya Allah. What at all should I sacrifice? He said, they are in this thinking. They get drowned in this thinking, day and night thinking of what to spend in the way of Allah the Almighty. And they get afraid that maybe whatever little that they are spending is not accepted by Allah the Almighty. He said, if this is our case or this is our situation, then we are truly demonstrating the true essence of the verse, لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. يا أيها الذين آمنوا أنفقوا من طيبات ما كسبتم ومما أخرجنا لكم من الأرض ولا تيمموا الخبيث منه تنفقون ولستم بآخذيه إلا أن تغمضوا فيه واعلموا أن الله غني حميد. الشيطان يعدكم الفقر ويأمركم بالفحشاء والله يعدكم مغفرة منه وفضلا والله واسع عليم. Surah Al-Baqarah, verses 268 and 269. O ye who believe, spend of the good things that you have earned, and of what we produce for you from the earth, and seek not what is bad to spend out of it when you would not take it yourselves, except that you connive at it. And know that Allah is self-sufficient, praiseworthy. Satan threatens you with poverty and enjoins upon you what is foul, whereas Allah promises you forgiveness from himself and bounty. Allah is bountiful, all-knowing. This verse is very, very important. Allah the Almighty says you should spend in his way. But what can you spend? Is it any money at all? He says that you should spend the money that you've earned earnestly, and not the money that you've looted someone, you've stolen money from someone, you've done something that is against Allah the Almighty. That money that you've got, you would spend that money in the way of Allah. He said, no. You should spend which is very good, very pure. And he cites an example, and he says that at times, when it comes to spending on the poor and the situation of the poor, some people get emotional. They would want to help the poor. And so what they do is that they go and steal from people and give it to them, and give it to the poor, thinking that they are doing something very good. And we've all heard the story about Robin Hood, who stole from the rich and then gave it to the poor. He says that if you have such thinking, or if you do such a thing, thinking that you are doing good to the poor, yes, the poor will benefit, but the way or the procedure that you took is against Allah the Almighty's words. And that is why he says that anyone who is aware of moral philosophy will not accept this, because it is very, very wrong to steal from someone and give it to other people. He said, rather, what you should do as an individual is that if you think that poverty is on the rise in the society, wherever you find yourself, then it is your duty to help the society by giving out of which the monies that you've earned honestly, giving out to the people. He said, once you are doing your best in the society without stealing from anyone, then you should understand that the rest is on Allah the Almighty. Do not steal and bring it to the poor and think that you are doing something good. It is not right. This also applies to the financial sacrifices that we make in the Jamaat, the various chandajat that we have in the Jamaat. You cannot go and then gamble and get money from your gambling or from your lottery and then say, missionary or whoever is taking it, collector, this is my chanda. It is not right. Because how you earn that money is unlawful. And so that money cannot be spent in the way of Allah the Almighty. So, as a Muslim, Allahu Anhu is drawing our attention to this very, very, very important principle, that you should give in the way of Allah the Almighty, but it should be that money that is earned in all honesty. he says that the verse says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu anfiqu min tayyibati ma kasabtum. That, O ye who believe, spend of the good things that you have earned. He said, it doesn't mean that the true believers, they have monies that are not good. He says no. He says here, it is used to as an adjective to qualify the type of money that the believers earn. That as for the true and sincere believers, their earnings are very good. And so they should give out in the way of Allah the Almighty. And then always try as much as possible that once you spend in the, you should spend in the way of Allah the Almighty and spend out of which you have and what you've gotten in all honesty. He said when you are spending on someone, make sure that you spend something that is good, not something that is spoiled. Like people, when you have poor people coming around, you go and bring food that you've not eaten for the past 1 week or 2 weeks, and then you give it to them. He said that is not the right thing to do. And whatever you are spending should be good. Yes, if it is surplus, it doesn't mean you don't need it. It is surplus. Or it doesn't mean it is not good. It is surplus, and then you want to give something out. You want to give one out. That is allowed. And also, once you are giving, give something that will benefit the person that you are giving that thing to, so that it doesn't become a burden for that person, or that person does not frown on it. And he says, وَلَسْتُمْ بِيَاخِذِيهِ إِلَّا أَن تُغْمِضُوا فِيهِ. He said, that thing that you are giving, you should ask yourself that if I am giving that thing, will I accept what I'm being given? He said, if the answer is positive, then you can go on and then make that sacrifice. And he said, you should know that وَعَلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ غَنِيٌّ حَمِيدٌ, that Allah is self-sufficient and praiseworthy. الشَّيْطَانِ يَعِدُكُمُ الْفَقَرِ, that Satan promises you poverty. And this happens a lot of the times when you are spending in the way of Allah the Almighty. At times, when you try to spend or to give out to the poor, or to spend, let's say, to pay your chanda or anything, or do any donations at all, then something comes into your mind that no, don't give it out. Because once you give it out, you have this thing to do, that thing to do, this one is there, that thing is there. And so if you do it, you become poor. You will not be able to do it. He says, "Ash-shaytan ya'idukum al-faqr," that Satan threatens you with poverty. And so that will stop you automatically from doing that good deed that you intended to do. So that is what Satan does to us when we are spending in the way of Allah the Almighty. So once you are spending, then you should be aware that that thinking will come, and it is up to you to get rid of it. But he says, however, when it comes to anything immoral, anything that is not good in the society, then you see that Satan will tell you, this one continues to do very good. You can do it. And then you end up spending your money on useless things that will not benefit you at all. So that one, ya'idukum al-faqr, also comes here. That at the end of it all, you end up losing whatever that you had infused in that thing that is not good. He says that, as a Muslim who says that both believers and non-believers sacrifice in the way of Allah the Almighty. But one makes sacrifices, both believers and non-believers sacrifice. But one is done for Satan and the other is done from God. One gets you closer to Allah the Almighty. That is the believer who spends in his way. It gets you closer to Allah the Almighty. And the disbeliever, that one, his sacrifices, like spending on useless things, will rather take him far away from Allah the Almighty. And that will also lead him to his destruction. And again, he says, وَيَأْمُرُكُمْ بِالْفَحْشَاءِ, and as Satan has promised you poverty, he also makes you very, very arrogant. And that becomes your weakness. But once that is done in all honesty, and is done in all sincerity, then Allah the Almighty is, He says, Wallahu ya'idukum maghfirah minhu wa fadla. Then Allah the Almighty will cover your weaknesses and forgive you, and will also make you a successful person. And once you spend in the way of Allah the Almighty, then you should know that Wallahu wasi'un alim. That's Allah the Almighty will provide for you, because Allah the Almighty has put a lot of things in our ways. Allah the Almighty has saved a lot of things for the believers, the true believers, that once you spend with all sincerity, then you should understand that Allahu wasi'un alim. Then Allah the Almighty will always provide for you. And as said in the Holy Quran as well, وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ, that where you did not think that you get your provision from, that is where Allah the Almighty will provide for you. So making sacrifices is a very important thing to do. And we have numerous verses in the Holy Quran that talks about sacrifices as well. We have verses from Surah Al-Hadid as well that talks about financial sacrifices. And so once we are sacrificing in the way of Allah the Almighty, then we should understand that whatever thing that we are spending in the way of Allah the Almighty is not going to go to waste. Allah the Almighty is going to give us the blessings because He has already promised us. If whatever we are spending in His way, we are not getting anything out of it, if there is nothing to show, then why did Allah the Almighty, or why is Allah the Almighty asking us to spend in the way of Allah the Almighty? It's asking us to spend in His way. Because once you do it, you are going to get His blessings. And so doing that sacrifice, making that financial sacrifice, is very, very important for a believer. And Allah the Almighty has stated that once you are giving to the poor, the needy in the society, don't think that it is going to waste. It is rather also going to benefit you, in the sense that the poor people in the society, they are no more going to attack you, they are no more going to come to you, because they will also get that progress that they are looking for, because now you've given them. And so the example of the farmers, the example of what happened to the Muslims, what happened to the Tsar of Russia, he said that example is in front of us, that the poor people in the society, if the rich people, we hoard our monies, we don't give them out, then the time will come, these people will be fed up, and then they will come to us and steal from us. And even if we are unlucky, they are going to kill us and then take everything from us. And so Allah the Almighty commanding you, or commanding us to spend in His way, is for our own benefit and not for the benefit of Allah the Almighty. Because Allah the Almighty has stated that لَنْ يَنَالَ اللَّهَ لُحُومُهَا وَلَا دِمَاؤُهَا, that whatever sacrifices that we are making in this world, we should not think that the blood of the animal, the flesh of that animal is going to Allah the Almighty up in the skies. It's the same thing that happens to our chanda, our sacrifices. It is not going up or anywhere to Allah the Almighty, but it is coming to us. It is going to benefit us. It is going to make us better people in the society, and it will help us as a society and as a community to grow. We should also understand that spending in the way of Allah the Almighty, that is the chandas that we have in the Jamaat, is not an innovation, but something that Allah the Almighty Himself has spoken of in the Holy Quran, and it's not an innovation. May Allah the Almighty bless us all. I don't know if there is any question at all. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Sorry. So, yes, please. Yes.
But what we say about those people, no matter what you do to them, they will not show gratitude.
Yes.
You are the very person, if they see harm coming to you, they will even access for it to happen.
Yes.
What do you say about that?
So I think, so far as those people who are very, very ungrateful are concerned, Allah the Almighty has already talked about them, because their position in the face of Allah the Almighty. If someone is ungrateful to you, he is ungrateful to you. And Allah the Almighty is saying that if you are ungrateful to a servant, it means you are ungrateful to Allah the Almighty himself. And so the punishment or whatever Allah the Almighty wants to do to that person is with Allah the Almighty. But that should not stop you as an individual from doing what is right. And on the contrary, if you rather taunt the person and try to remind the person, I did this for you, I did that for you, you should serve me, you should do this thing for me, then Allah the Almighty is saying that that is not the best way. That cannot be called sadaqah. That is not a sacrifice that you did in the way of Allah the Almighty. You wanted to gain your own prominence. You wanted to be known. That is why you did it. But if it was with sincerity of heart, then Allah the Almighty will give you your reward. And that is what you are after. You are not after someone being grateful to you. Yes. Jazakallah. Jazakumullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون